So I have prospective clients who are interested in relocating to Lake Keowee, or they're just interested in learning more about the lake. Call me, or we'll have a consultation at my office, and they say, "Will, be straight up with me. What do you wish you knew before you moved to Lake Keowee?" So in this video, we're going to cover all the things that I wish I knew before I were to move to Lake Keowee. So first thing that we need to talk about the lake are the communities on the lake. So there's over 100 waterfront communities here on Lake Keowee. And a good way to think about that is in kind of three different structures, right? So the first group of communities that I would label would be the reserve, all of the Cliffs communities on the northern part of the lake, and then Keowee Key. These are amenity-rich golf course, swimming pool, clubhouse, restaurant, sidewalks, walking trails, gatekeeper, really amenity-driven communities, and the amenities are what is going to drive people to those communities. Now, the reserve and all of the Cliffs communities have pretty steep upfront membership fees that each property owner has to purchase when they buy a property there. Now, Keowee Key, not as steep, but the annual membership dues at all three of these communities are going to be the steepest of any of the other subgroups that we'll talk about hereafter. So the second tier that we should talk about is the crescent communities. And it's not that these are any less desirable than, say, the reserve or the Cliffs, or any more desirable than the last group of communities that we'll talk about. But the crescent communities are derived from Duke Energy. So the land management company for Duke is called Crescent Resources. And when Lake Keowee was formed, Crescent Resources developed a lot of these crescent communities. And a lot of these crescent communities are homogeneous, at least in the way that they appear from the road when you turn into them. So a lot of similar signs, a lot of similar landscaping. And it's not that these communities don't have amenities, because they do, pools and clubhouses, sidewalks and such, but they're not as, say, exclusive as the reserve or the Cliffs, or as amenity rich as Keowee Key. And then you have your last group of communities, which are still waterfront, and they still have amenities, but they don't have as many amenities as the first two groups have. So you might have really nice lakefront communities, but you just don't have, say, sidewalks or a clubhouse with a gym and a restaurant. But you still may have a pool, and it's still going to be on the water with quick access to the water here on Lake Keowee. So the second thing that I always mention about folks interested in building or moving to Lake Keowee would be the water. So Lake Keowee is fed by two sources: Lake Jocassee just north of Lake Keowee and Bat Creek. And for instance, Lake Jocassee is fed by 4 rivers flowing out of the mountains. So a lot of this water is super clean as it enters into Jocassee, and then all that water from Jocassee filters in to Keowee. So the water's super clean here. A lot of folks ask me, well, let's compare Hartwell to Keowee. There's some parts of Hartwell you can't even eat fish out of, right? And it's been said that you can drink the water out of Keowee, it's so clean. So if clean water is concerning to you, and if you want clean water in the lake, then Keowee would be a great place to invest here. And not only is the water clean, but since there is a nuclear power plant here in the middle of the lake levels have to stay at a certain level. So the maximum drawdown that the lake can come down is 10 feet, which there may have been just a few times since the inception of the lake that the water has gone down that far. But again, we're up in the mountains, so off of your points and off of the shores, the water gets much steeper, much quicker compared to, say, Hartwell, where Hartwell's known for its fluctuations in water levels, and you'll see a lot of docks sitting in the mud there, especially during the wintertime in the off-season. So if you want to make a sound investment on a lake house here in the southeast, Lake Keowee is a great place to look, because The water levels are not going to fluctuate very much, and the water is very clean. So as far as the future of Keowee goes, your investment that you make here on the shores, it's going to be well protected. And then I'll mention docks. So a couple things about docks. You do have to have a permit for a dock to be legal here on the water. And you can tell if a dock's legal on the water by a little placard that's going to be on the side of that dock. If we're buying a lot for you, we'll always make that offer contingent on getting a dock permit if there's not a dock already installed. So a couple things about docks. A dock can't be over 1,000 square feet, and a dock can't be any farther out onto the water than 110 feet, or no farther than a third of the distance of a cove, or the width of a cove. And a couple things about property taxes. So the way that property taxes work in South Carolina is if you own the house that you live in, so this house on Keowee is your primary residence, then you're going to be taxed at a 4% rate. And it's not 4% of the property's value. It's some convoluted equation that it's too much to go into detail on the video, but it's 4% if you live there, and it's 6% if it's your second house. So if you live in Texas or Illinois or Tennessee or Atlanta or Charlotte or wherever you're coming from, even within the state of South Carolina, and your house on Keowee is, say, an investment property or your second home, you're going to be taxed at a 6% rate. And how it works out math-wise is the 4% rate is about half to 2/3 less than that 6% property tax rate. So if you see two houses beside each other, and let's say one tax bill is $4,000, the next one beside it is $12,000, it's not some big difference in value. It's just that the $4,000 tax bill, that person probably lives there full-time, and that $12,000 tax bill or $15,000 tax bill, that person probably does not live there full-time. Another thing to note would be the climate here in the western upstate of South Carolina. So summertime we average about 90 degrees. Wintertime we'll average about 40 degrees. You definitely get all four seasons here. So fall is about to start. First day of fall is just a couple of days ago. Leaves will start to change first, second, third week of October. And then we'll have a full winter until, let's say, late February, early March, and then spring will start to sprout, late March, moving into April, and then it'll be summer again. So as I've previously mentioned in other videos, where is Lake Keowee? Well, like I've said, Lake Keowee is in the upper western part of South Carolina in the mountain region. We're in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains. As you start to get up into the mountain range, we are 45 minutes to Greenville, South Carolina, which is one of the South's best cities. We're 20 minutes to Pickens, South Carolina, which is a very quickly growing small town. And then we're only 20 minutes to, say, Clemson, South Carolina, as well as Seneca, South Carolina. So real estate sales here on Lake Keowee since the outbreak of COVID have definitely skyrocketed. Pre-COVID levels were about half of what post-pandemic levels have been for home sales and waterfront lot sales and interior lot sales. And I think that is partly due to the remoteness of Lake Keowee and the overall increased sentiment of wanting to get out of cities, wanting to get out of populated areas and get a little bit more remote and have a little bit more personal liberty. Here in South Carolina, you have a lot of personal liberty, and we found that a lot of these folks who have migrated from out of state have done just that. They've gotten out of their city or the area where they felt like they didn't have a lot of liberty for themselves, and they came here to South Carolina on the beautiful Lake Keowee, and now they have the life that they want. So we've had a lot of increase in construction, a lot of increase in waterfront lot sales and interior lot sales. and an overall increase of activity in real estate here since the outbreak of COVID. And I don't think that's going to slow down. I think Lake Keowee for many years to come is going to be a very hot spot, especially for the Southeast and for lakes in the Southeast. I don't foresee the Lake Keowee real estate market slowing down anytime soon. So if you're thinking about investing your money on Lake Keowee, I think that's a very wise investment. Water quality, location, climate, all of the things that we've talked about in the video come into play about why sales have skyrocketed here on the lake in the last 3 and 4 years. And I think the market here is going to be strong for many years to come. Reach out to me directly to get an exclusive list of homes that are currently for sale on the lake, an exclusive list of spec homes that are being built on the lake, and reach out to me to figure out how we can get you the best deal here on Lake Keowee. Thank you so much.